These masked men, they're organized and unafraid. Their greatest weapon is no blade, it's our greed. Leandros, circa 429 BC. Hello and welcome to Visions of the Past. My name is Andrew, and I'm the host of this Assassin's Creed lore podcast. This is episode 44, and today we're going to talk about the pre-Templar group, known as the Cult of Kosmos. Originally introduced in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, we discovered more information on the Cult of Kosmos in the novel of the same name. More information about the group also appears in Assassin's Creed The Essential Guide, and they're found in its own issue of the UK magazine, Assassin's Creed, the official collection. At some point between the 6th and 5th century BC, the Cult of Kosmos was founded. It's a spin-off of the Cult of Hermes, which was established by Hermes Trismegistus and Pythagoras. Eventually, several of the Cult of Hermes followers became dissatisfied with the cult's ways and began to follow a ghost of Kosmos, who became the leader of the Cult of Kosmos. By the 5th century BC, the cult formed a sort of partnership with the Order of the Ancients in Persia. While both groups worked independently of each other, their goals were often aligned. Together, they worked to install King Xerxes I of Persia as overlord of Greece. The cult saw him as a means to unite all Greece under one ordered rule, and, as a result, would support his conquests. In 480 BC, King Leonidas I of Sparta consulted with the Pythia about going to war with the Persians. The cult confronted him and warned him not to oppose them, but Leonidas disregarded their threats and chose to fight against the Persians, an act that would cost him his life. After King Leonidas' defiance, the cult grew determined to destroy his bloodline because of its potential for interfering in their plans. In 446 BC, the cult spread word by manipulating the Pythia, Praxithia, into saying that the youngest grandchild of Leonidas would bring ruin to Sparta. The youngest grandchild's name was Alexios, and as a result, the Spartans sentenced Alexios to execution. This led to Cassandra, who is also a grandchild of Leonidas and Alexios' older sister, to try to save him from death atop Mount Taygetos. While trying to save him, Cassandra ended up pushing her brother and his executioner off the cliff, which also caused her to be thrown from the cliff by her stepfather, Nicolaus. Surprisingly, the fall didn't kill either child, and after the event, Cassandra went into exile, and her mother, Myrine, took Alexios to the sanctuary of Asclepios in Argolis to get medical treatment for his injuries. The priests at the sanctuary, led by Medon, did what they could for the mother and the child, but convinced Myrine that it was best to leave the badly injured child to the mercies of the gods. After Myrine left, a member of the Cult of Kosmos, Chrysis, took Alexios under her wing, healed him, and raised him to be part of the cult. Renamed Demos, Alexios was seen by the cult as a weapon rather than a regular foot soldier. Over the following decades, the cult orchestrated the Peloponnesian War in an effort to achieve control of Greece through the country's most notable city-states, Athens and Sparta. During this time, they discovered that Cassandra had survived and was working as a Misthios, or mercenary, on the island of Kephallonia. At first, the cult wanted to have her killed, but one of their members, Elpenor, convinced them to instead hire her to assassinate her stepfather, Nicolaus, in order to stop an immediate Spartan victory over Athens. Doing so, though, Elpenor exposed the cult's existence to Cassandra, who then decided to hinder the cult's plans for control over Greece and sought to destroy the cult completely. In 431 BC, the cult held its first meeting after quite some time in the sanctuary of Kosmos. Unknown to them, Cassandra had infiltrated this meeting and afterward set out on her quest to destroy the cult by hunting down its members one by one. During her quest, Cassandra discovered that the cult had not remained as secret as they had hoped, with people like Herodotus hearing about them, along with some people knowing that the cult forced Lagos, the Archon of Arcadia, one of the chief magistrates of the region, to do their bidding by keeping Lagos' family as hostages. After Cassandra had tracked down every cult member, thus destroying the Cult of Kosmos, she met with the Ghost of Kosmos within the Sanctuary of Kosmos. Here, it was revealed the Ghost of Kosmos, and leader of the cult, was Aspasia, the partner of Athenian statesman Pericles. After the confrontation in 422 BC, Aspasia relinquished the title of Cult of Kosmos, stating that the cult was dead, and she needed to go into the world and build a new republic under the supreme rule of someone with the knowledge of a philosopher and the wisdom of a king. During the time we see the Cult of Kosmos, they organized themselves into branches. Each branch had 5 adepts and was led by a person that they called a sage, and each branch had its own area of expertise. The Eyes of Kosmos was the branch that gathered information for the cult. The Silver Vein ran the cult's financial operations and was the source of the majority of their income. The Delian League branch sided with Athens during the Peloponnesian War while trying to suppress the free thinkers of Attica. The Peloponnesian League were on the side of Sparta during the war and sought to control their warriors by turning their faith against them. The gods of the Aegean Sea operated in the Aegean Sea while seeking to control the Aegean itself. The worshippers of the bloodline believed that Leonidas' descendants were unique and powerful, revering them as gods. And the final branch was the heroes of the cult, and they were considered the mightiest warriors within the cult. And, because they were the brute force of the cult, they often made their names as mercenaries. The Cult of Kosmos, as a system, is something that I enjoyed in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. They had a large number of enemies that we had to hunt during gameplay. Some of them were hunted as part of the main story, but a lot of them were just out in the world to be tracked down and killed. The problem I have with the cult is the way their story was told. When you start the story as your character, be it Alexios or Cassandra, the cult controls your introduction into the world outside of Kefalonia. Your character decides to destroy the cult, but eventually that story gets pushed to the background, and the main story evolves into trying to bring your family back together. At the beginning, it seems that the cult is meant to be a proto-Templar organization looking to control Greece by manipulating the Peloponnesian War. But by the time that we get to the end of their story, we're standing face to face with the cult leader, Aspasia, who tells us the cult wasn't meant to be the way it was. Instead, she says that it was too chaotic and needed to be wiped away, that it was controlled, and then suddenly it wasn't, that it was the rise of Demos and their action within the cult and the fear that they imposed over everyone that caused the chaos to come out. During the game, it seemed to me that Demos, while erratic, was a molded weapon and not someone controlling the cult. The story of the cult is something that bothers me in Odyssey, but the system itself is something I'm excited to see come back in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I just hope that the story is better told than it was in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Thank you for joining me today. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday for new episodes. If you love the Visions of the Past podcast, I'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on Apple Podcasts. If you have any questions about Assassin's Creed or topics that you'd like me to cover, please feel free to hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at visions_AC, and you can find those links in this episode's show notes. Until next time, my assassin friends, make sure to follow the Creed, and to those Templars listening, may the Father of Understanding guide you.